It's us, RS Flamingos. Wanted to make a quick little video today because we have visited, as you have probably seen in our other videos, many of Utah's national parks. Actually, all 5 of them,
Yep,
right?
in the last 2 years since we've been married, we've gone to all 5 national parks in Utah.
And so, also, I mean, winter's kind of slow for us because we like to do lots of outdoor adventure-y things. And so we figured in preparations for any of you viewers planning your summer trips, we would rank the 5 national parks in Utah in different categories on what we think they were number 1 in. I don't know. Just, we want to rank the national parks in Utah based on different categories. So if you're looking for something specific or you want some advice, here you have it.
Yeah, and we're also going to share some specific stories and things we liked that maybe aren't like the regular things you think about there. Some of them are, but there's definitely some things that we liked that are really specific to our adventures. So you can go back and watch our YouTube videos. We're going to be showing highlights and clips of each park as we go through them and as we talk about what we liked and didn't like at the parks.
Now keep in mind though, as a disclaimer, these are all our personal opinions, okay? Like, we didn't give points to each and mathematically figure out
there's no ranking.
There's it's all opinion based. And so if you disagree with us, that's fine, and other people may tell you differently, but based on our experience, which varies from other people's, this is how we would rank the different parks.
Awesome. So let's get right into it with our first category.
So our first category is Scenic Drivability. Number 1 for Scenic Drivability is Bryce Canyon National Park, because we feel as though it's one of the easiest parks that if you just want to drive, you don't want to get out and do tons and tons of hiking, you can easily drive and pull off at those scenic overlooks and see essentially the whole park.
Yeah, a lot of that drivability is also very accessible. So if you're somebody with like an injury or a scooter or a wheelchair, you can get right out to the edge of like the rim overlook at a lot of points with like a wheelchair or any sort of like accessibility devices.
There's also a shuttle you can catch, which, I mean, we didn't ride the shuttle, but we'd probably recommend it. We were there in the middle of the week when it wasn't too busy, so we had no problem with parking. But
it was storming.
And it was, yeah.
So there was less people there.
Pouring rain.
At one point, when it started to get nice, the shuttle was the only thing that was allowed into certain areas of the park. They just didn't allow any cars because there was no parking.
There was no parking.
And the shuttle looked very nice. Like, we researched into it to see if it would be good for us. We didn't end up using it, but it seems very easy to use and free.
Well, and part of the reason we didn't use it was because we also want to give honorable mention to Bryce Canyon for the best camping, because our campsite was right in the park and we could walk to a trailhead and pretty much access like
the whole park.
The whole park from that trail from our campsite. So we went on like a good old 8-mile loop straight from our campsite and then finished off there, and I took a nap on some rocks because I was tired. But
yeah. And speaking of walking, I want to jump us right into one of the main things we liked about Bryce Canyon, which was Hike the Hoodoos Challenge, which is a challenge put on by the national parks and stuff like that, where you can earn a little sticker, I believe, was it?
We got a sticker.
We got a sticker, which was really cool. I liked it. We did some research into it. I think we hiked all but maybe 1 or 2 of the hikes in it, so we hiked a ton.
Yeah, you only have to get I can't even remember, 5 Hike the Hoodoo medallions. You just take a picture with the sign, and a lot of them are super easy to access. We got some of the further ones out because we did a lot of hiking, but it was super fun if you're goal-oriented or like a little bit of a challenge. It's something you can aim for. I honestly really liked the weather. Super strange because it was storming pretty much.
Mega storming the whole
day. Yeah, because we're such high elevation and like the storm clouds were just huge and you could see the lightning and it was like pouring rain. But once I thought that was fun. Anyways, kind of sketchy.
Yeah,
pretty
we sat
fun.
in our car for like an hour at one point.
Yeah.
Something like that. We played cards in the car because of the weather, which is super fun.
But once the rain went away, it was perfect weather. It wasn't too hot. and we could hike. I don't know. I thought it was lovely. Not too hot. I kind of liked the storm. It added a new twist to our national parks instead of it just being hot in the summer. So.
That's true. Yeah, the weather was great. The hikes were great. Bryce Canyon comes in first for scenic drivability and best camping. So should we move on to our next one?
Yes. What's the second category?
So our second category here is family friendly. And this one, we saw it was family friendly because there was a lot of place where there were a lot of families and a lot of big families and a lot of little kids. Coming in first with family friendly is Arches National Park.
Yes.
We loved Arches. Also very drivable, but not drivable because there's too many cars.
Parking
they
was
need a
insane.
shuttle.
They don't have a shuttle, so
Arches needs a shuttle because there's a pretty steady, consistent route through the main part of the park. And you can't find parking. It's a game of driving in circles, which sucks. Makes your trip kind of stink because you're just driving around. But speaking of family friendly, all the hikes are easy. There was none that were like dangerous. And I mean, there was those slot canyons that they recommend you go in with a guide, but that's like one place. Everything else was super easy. And Rebecca's going to tell us about the fun little sand area that we ran into.
Oh yeah. Well, this is why it's family friendly. You could easily do it in a day trip with little ones. And there was a super fun area that you like go in and then it's just sand. And it's like nice and cool in there, which is a nice change.
Sand.
Like cold sand, which is a nice change from the heat and the wind. And the kids just loved it. They were just building and burying and digging and super fun.
I think everybody was eating lunch there. Like it was just a perfect spot.
It was a perfect spot. And so I wish I could remember. Maybe we'll include what the name of that little hike was, but that was awesome. But let's talk about our highlights specifically about this trip. So for me, very cliche, I liked the Delicate Arch. I know that's so Utah touristy, but it was so nice. You just walk up this face of this rock and you come out and it's literally just sitting there, just in the middle of nothing.
Like
this massive arch. It was super cool and just like incredible.
Yeah, and the Delicate Arch was awesome. It was an awesome hike. There was no clear trail because it's not really like dirt. It was just this massive rock that you hike up, and then you get to this area where it's just like carved out, and then suddenly there's this huge arch, which is my favorite thing about it was the wind, which if you've watched our channel previously, you know the clip I'm showing right now when I said I enjoyed the wind. It was different, but the park is so unique because Rebecca's laughing because she's knowing the clip too, but the park was so unique. All the like thick arches cut out, all of the fins and things like that. It's just interesting to see how like the wind and water take a toll on just like this rock. And the rock is super soft too at some points. Like you can touch it and it dusts off on your hands. So
yeah. I
like the uniqueness of it because you don't see arches everywhere.
And like different types of arches too. They don't all look the same, which is really neat.
Which is something in other parks, if there is an arch, there's an arch. There's just like one arch that everyone goes to. Like in Canyonlands, there's like just that one arch that everyone knows about. The Skyline Arch or something like that. But I like the uniqueness and how like unique and specific and different and full of just different features Arches was.
Yeah. Let's move on to our third category. So our third category, we are saying the most underrated park, which if you know anything about Utah parks, you might be able to guess. But the most underrated park is Capitol Reef National Park. This park has incredible views and it's huge.
Massive, way bigger than we expected.
Way big.
I'll tell the story real quick of size, but when we went to the park, we found one hike at the south end of the park, and it was after driving many hours to get there. It was an hour and a half drive to get to the south end of the park?
Just to get to the south end, and that doesn't even count how far it is to get to the north end too. But huge park, incredible views, and so underrated they didn't even have like a manned toll booth to like pay your fee to get into the park. It literally was this sign that was like, pay here, and you write a check or put your credit card information or cash and throw it in there. And even then, you don't have to pay to go to a lot of the popular parts of the park. Like there's
we never
so many
found
hikes.
Anything that said we had to pay or any booths or anything.
Well, no, just the one sign that we drove by.
But
and we paid, but like the visitor center and a lot, like there's the Fruita Schoolhouse and right? Yes.
And
the Fruita Schoolhouse. You could buy like fruit. There's orchards. You could buy pies and different things. And there was also a ton of like simple hikes good for families. And those were even before the point where you were expected to pay to get in. So very underrated. And like when we talk to people about the national parks and I tell them there's 5 in Utah, most people can name 4 of them but never remember or have even heard of Capitol Reef.
Most people haven't been, and it was amazing, especially that big tall hike we did. So that's my main highlight, is that rim overlook that we did, and it was just super awesome because it was a huge hike. It was the Hickman Bridge overlook where you go above Hickman Bridge. Mm-hmm. Even just hiking to Hickman Bridge, which we did, was a ton of fun.
Yeah.
But being up over it on the rim overlook is just breathtaking because you can see like the ripples in the earth.
Well, and that, because rim overlook was also my favorite point of Capitol Reef, but even that, you like are sitting up there and there's just like, it's all like this brown, reddish rock type look, and then there's just the little area where the town is, and it's bright green, like a green I've never seen before, and it's like everything's dry except right there's so much life, which is just super cool. And even on the way to the hike, there's like a bunch of different land formations and like carvings and colors and trees and just like so many unique things, and nobody was up there. Like it was
we ran into like
quiet.
Maybe 4 people on the entire like multiple hour hike. There was nobody up there to like impact the hike, or it was very nice.
It was a lovely hike, so we recommend rim overlook if you're going to Capitol Reef National Park.
Great.
So yeah, Capitol Reef, like Skylar was saying, the south end was hours away. The north end we went to with my family, and that was also an hour and a half away or so.
I forgot about this part because it's so far away. You have to go out of the park.
Out of the park and then back around and in. And it's like called Cathedral Valley, and it says you need a high clearance vehicle. You do. We took the minivan.
Thud, big old rocks.
We were concerned we were going to lose something off the bottom of the van.
And the reviews say it's hours to get, if you even get help that day. It might be the next day.
So, Capitol Reef is huge. You can see plenty of the park from the main area. We would love to explore further south. We just didn't get to it. Maybe another time. And if you're going north, definitely have a high clearance vehicle and be ready to be out there for a while, because there's no cell service, nothing. But it is beautiful.
Yes, it is.
It's really cool.
And another thing I'd add to Capitol Reef is if you want to go south, I would say you have to camp in the park, because where we camped is what really added to that time. But our campsite was great.
It was incredible, but it was like 30
minutes out of the entrance,
away from the entrance.
Yeah. Capitol Reef, the most underrated. But the most breathtaking one is next. And the winner for that category is Canyonlands National Park. And it's so breathtaking because it's just vast. This one is massive. I don't know how big, which one's the biggest, but I would say this one's the biggest. At least it looks the biggest. Because you can only realistically, it's a long, huge park that you have to like I would say you have to get out in like backcountry and like know what you're doing to really get out and explore it. But when you're up in like the main area of the park and just looking over the vastness of Canyonlands, that's what's really breathtaking, because it just goes on and on and on and down and down and down, just like big giant canyons.
Yeah, seriously, I sat on the edge there, and this is kind of like my highlight, but I sat on the edge where my brothers were terrified. Don't go to the edge. But I sat on the edge, and it just went on forever and ever and ever. And you can see just different layers of erosion and how it's massive. So massive, which is why a little disclaimer for this park. We went on a few hikes, but we didn't get to explore it as much as we probably would have liked to, partly because from my impression of Canyonlands, you need to be somebody who's willing to do days of backpacking or have some type of like 4-wheel ATV type vehicle to really be able to explore the depths of the park. Yeah. And we are not backcountry prepared people. So there's a lot we couldn't explore, but the things that we did see and explore while we were there were incredible.
Yeah, if there's no running water that's clean for Rebecca, we're probably not going to end up camping there. So
hey, I can wash my hair
in a river? Not a chance.
Okay, well I guess we have to bring bottled water.
Okay, fine. But yeah, my favorite thing was the expansiveness. Like I was going on in the beginning, I won't keep rambling about it. But the park's huge. It's even near Arches. We went to them back to back. It's a little bit of a drive. It's not right next to it.
But if you're in the area,
it's worth it.
Go hit it up.
Yeah,
and there was that. It's pretty classic. It's an arch type hike.
Skyline Arch, I think.
Yeah, we'll have to look up the name. But it's this arch, and then you walk up, and you can look through the arch, and you see the expansiveness of the park, and it's pretty cool.
It's pretty great. So let's move on to our last category, which is a pending category, which is Zion's National Park. So Rebecca's going to talk about this one a little bit.
Yeah, we don't have a category for Zion's just yet, which I know many people would be like shocked by, because Zion's is definitely a fan favorite.
That's
but
what I'd say most popular is probably its category, but that's not really a category.
But like, okay, but here's the reason we don't have a category for Zion's. Zion's we explored while on our honeymoon, so it was the first of the parks that we saw. But because we were on our honeymoon and there was COVID happening, a lot of things were closed and we weren't well planned. We literally just showed up and we're like, what should we do in Zion's? And
I honestly think we were just in our like little apartment and decided, Zion's is nearby, didn't we? Like we just kind of decided.
We knew it was nearby.
But it was more on the fly than any of our other national parks.
And so we, like our other national parks, we plan. We have an itinerary. We do research. Like we are going to see the park. So Zion's we didn't fully get to experience or get to see. And so that makes it so it's hard for us to appropriately assign it a category to do it justice, because it is an incredible park and we definitely have some highlights about the park.
So the highlights, let's get right into those. Mine was Observation Point, which was the main hike you'll see that we did. We went via the East Mesa trailhead, so we didn't have to climb up the mountain because part of the trail was closed. But we're going back to the park here in a couple months, so we're going to be excited to give it a category. We're going to do more hikes. We're going to the park instead of on a honeymoon.
Yeah, so I also loved Observation Point, and like Skylar said, we didn't have to hike up to it. We started outside of the park, and it was pretty much like flat the entire way.
At the end, it was
essentially,
up and down,
and so it wasn't exhausting, and the view was incredible. And we did it around sunset too, which was super fun. Really cool. I got a little spooked though because it was dark and we couldn't remember how we got there. Like when we got back to the car, it was dark.
Rebecca needs to apologize for taking someone's lights.
Okay, I'm sorry, whoever's lights I took. When we were hiking back, somebody was leaving these cute little ball light things on the trail so they would know how to get back
in the dark. They were hiking out to photograph the sunset.
I thought they were so cute, so I just started collecting them until I realized they were guiding someone back to their car in the dark. So then I just threw them, but I left most of them. I only had like a handful.
Yeah, you left the ones you found, so they probably were like, where'd all our lights go? And stumbled upon a big collection of them, and we're like, gosh dang it.
But yeah, we're going to visit Zion's in May, and we're going to be camping in the park, and we're going to give it the full RS Flamingos researched multiple day extravaganza experience.
So we'll have to give it a category after that. But
yeah, it'll be fun.
So let's talk about our number one favorite park. Where would we go if we only had one park to go to for the rest of our lives?
Again, though,
just for Utah.
Based on our experience, because obviously if somebody came to me asking for advice on what park to go to, it would
There's a lot of criteria. So
on the criteria. But
if you want help, we can give you some tips and feedback.
But based on personal experience, our favorite experience and favorite park to visit. Skylar, are you going first?
Yes, I'll go first.
We haven't told each other what our favorite is. We just want to see.
My favorite park out of the ones in Utah is Bryce Canyon.
I knew you would choose Bryce Canyon.
Okay, and Rebecca's favorite park is
Capitol Reef.
I knew it. I could have said that myself.
I could have chosen Bryce Canyon for you.
That's good. Okay, my favorite, I've talked about Bryce Canyon a lot. I loved, you could go anywhere just by walking, especially if you had like an e-bike. You could get anywhere in the park. It would be so much fun, especially in good weather and stuff like that. It would be so much fun. That park was great, and the views are amazing.
And Capitol Reef, I loved the views. I like things that are underrated because I don't like to be like everybody else. So I kind of like the fact that I've explored Capitol Reef and other people haven't. And I'm a sucker for a good, like, visitor center area, which seems silly, but I just really liked the little schoolhouse and the little orchards. They were green, and there was the incredible pie, and there was stores. It was so cute, and so I'm a sucker for a cute little visitor center area, and more than just, like, a visitor center and a parking lot. Like, it was a little community, which I just thought was tender. And our camping site was cool, even though it was a little out of the way. It was huge.
Bryce Canyon is also a dark sky park. We went outside at night. That was
amazing. My gosh, yeah, why did we not talk about that? That was incredible.
So we can add that. So like there's my number one park is Bryce Canyon. Hers is Capitol Reef. Sorry, I would say Arches and Zions are the most popular parks in Utah.
Definitely the most popular parks in Utah, especially with Arches being so close to Moab, and there's lots of outdoorsy things to do. But we would love if anyone wants feedback tips, advice on our favorite hikes, our favorite places to camp, our favorite things to do in any of these parks. We are more than happy and willing to give you any recommendations. And again,
answer any questions.
These are all based on our personal experiences, and we would love tips from anybody else too, especially since we're going to Zions. If you have a favorite hike or a favorite must-do in the area, we are open to receiving some suggestions so we can give Zions an appropriate category after we go in May.
Well, that's going to wrap up, I think. Did you have anything else you wanted to add?
Nothing I wanted to add.
So that's our Utah 5 National Parks video.
We love the national parks in Utah. Go see them.
Yeah, and if you have any questions, leave a comment or make sure you like this video. But that's going to do it for our ranking of the top 5 parks in Utah.
And share it with your friends who like to go to national parks.